Creative problem solving has the word problem. So it's an approach to deal with small issues, but it's especially strong in dealing with wicked problems. A wicked problem is a problem that cannot be solved in a simple, linear manner, and for which no straightforward solution exists. Characteristics include: it's poorly defined, it's hard to grasp its complexity, and we don't know the solution. An example of a wicked problem is poverty. Because what exactly is poverty? Anyone? It's also hard to grasp because it involves many different factors and it manifests in different domains, such as housing, education, employment, and obviously it's very hard to solve it. Poverty is a great example of a wicked problem, and maybe creative problem solving can help us here.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
My girlfriend just asked me, what is a wicked problem? Well, my dear, it's a problem that's poorly defined, it's hard to grasp its complexity, and we don't know the solution. For example, me wetting the bed last night. I've got no clue why or what could be the solution because I can't help it. Michiel, what the hell? Not again. Honey? Honey? Running away from the problem is not the solution.
So how are we going to tackle these problems by creative problem solving? There are actually various ways to put it into action, and I'm going to introduce you to one of them, called design thinking. And it stands out from different approaches because it is a very human-centered approach. A great tip to delve into design thinking is to detach yourself from your immediate environment. And that's why I'm super excited to be here at the Maak Leerplek in Leuven, where people come to create and where circularity is highly valued. That's why I'm taking these collected plastic bottle caps and I'm gonna go and create something meaningful with these. So design thinking has 5 key steps. Understand, define, ideate, create, and test. No worries, I'm explaining them to you now, but more in depth in the following videos. Now, my plastic bottle caps have turned into these cool props to represent each of the stages. Pretty cool, right? The design thinking process starts with the understand phase. Try to genuinely understand people in that context. How and why they do things, how they see the world, what truly matters to them. Design thinking is a human-centered approach, and that's why understanding the people and the context of the challenge comes first. Next is the define phase. And the define phase is all about bringing clarity and focus. You define the challenge based on what you've learned in the understand phase. And the goal here is to create a meaningful and an action-oriented problem statement or research question. The third phase is ideate. And here you generate as many ideas as possible. And from these, you only keep the most promising ones. And those will serve as fuel for your solution. Create is the fourth phase. And in this phase, you create a tangible representation of your possible solutions. For example, you make a prototype. And finally, test. Test your creation in a realistic setting and learn from the feedback you receive. Make adjustments here and there. And after, launch your solution. Design thinking involves two thinking styles. You have divergent thinking and convergent thinking. With divergent thinking, it means broaden up, look from a wide perspective. Convergence means narrowing it back down to bring focus. You can really see these two thinking styles in the model. When you look at the understand phase, for example, you start with divergent thinking because you're asking questions. You're understanding the why. To then come to a definition. Definition means narrowing it back down again, convergent thinking. Then we ask you to generate ideas, as many as you can, so obviously this is divergent thinking. You have to choose a couple of possible solutions, meaning narrowing down, convergence. So these two thinking styles are very important in this model. One side note, we don't like to speak of 5 steps because that might give you the idea that this is a linear model. And it's not a linear path. Each of these steps can be revisited. You can always go back in the process. It's just important to keep in mind that all 5 of these steps are valuable to come to a viable solution. Iteration is key. Let's look at a practical example, and for that I'm going to take you to my personal life. We start with the understand phase. What was happening? I was tired, I was agitated, my emotions went everywhere, I was thirsty all the time, and for me that was a clear sign that maybe it had something to do with the fact that I'm diabetic. So I dug a little deeper, and for me the definition of the problem was, okay, clearly I'm not keeping track of my diabetes good enough, so how can I keep myself motivated to eat healthy, to feel energized? That was my question. I started writing down ideas, and I can tell you a couple of them. Make a week planning, create an app to keep myself on track, get a food buddy, someone who talks to you directly about it, and create a community to get like-minded people together. So in the ideate phase, I went wide to then narrow it down. How did I do that? Well, pretty simple. I'm more of a people. So creating an app is not really my thing. Week planning, I felt most for the community, right? So I narrowed it down to start creating. What I did was I created a Facebook page, a local one, to have a community where I can ask questions, simple or more complex questions, and I made it a local one just to test it out, right? We go to the testing phase. I had the Facebook page, and after a while I started asking people for feedback. And what came out was that people don't do Facebook anymore. So we changed the whole thing to Instagram. 2, not just diabetes people are now following the page, also people without diabetes, people who love to cook, experts, doctors. And the third thing that was very interesting is that people actually invited each other to try new dishes. So very happy with this solution. I followed the steps of design thinking, and I'm really pleased with the result. I'm now getting invited and I get reminders, and I'm actually eating a lot more healthily. So cheers, design thinking. Thank you.